Hello class, this is Addison, and as y'all know, we are presenting our graduate performance review or appraisal research project. And I do have to say I'm excited about my topic. And so just to get started, I want to give you a project objectives and some expectations. And so the purpose of this research project is to analyze a current 21st century company's ineffective performance review system and develop and design an effective performance review system. I will make this project talk about, discuss environmental effects that the work environment has, the company's drive and purpose, strategic goals, implementations, research feedback, in order to design an effective review. And also the company that I chose for this, oddly enough, is Amazon, which people don't really think about Amazon having a poor performance review, but yet a company that'd be fun to work with. And so this was very interesting for me to research and study. Expectations, so something that you can expect to hear, see, and hopefully understand by the end of this project, is displaying an ineffective performance review system that is going to be shown by Amazon, defining performance reviews, discussing the research that I have found, and then ultimately developing a healthy performance review method. And so to get started, obviously we need to set up some background of Amazon. And so in 1994, Jeff, who is the current CEO of Amazon, founded Amazon, started the idea in 1994, and officially in 1995 he started Amazon in Seattle, Washington. And oddly enough, his first office, Amazon, the first office it ever had was in Bezos' garage. He was a 30-year-old and the youngest senior vice president at Wall Street before he resigned to begin his dream of beginning business, e-commerce, web interactions amongst people. He wanted to be the first one to establish a virtual community where visitors could hang out. Amazon first began as an online bookstore, and so it was one of the biggest competitors, and it actually was the reason why Barnes & Noble got a website, because before then they didn't have any competition, but Amazon comes along and creates a big competition for Barnes & Noble's. Amazon quickly became the template for how e-commerce business should be run. At the beginning, Bezos only had 5 employees. So when he started Amazon, him and 5 other people. But by September 1996, Amazon grew to having 100 employees. And by the time they got to 2000, 9,000 employees. And today they have over 647,500 employees. Again, like I said, just at the very beginning, Amazon had grown from just selling books to marketing books, music, and more. And so this is when they decided to add on toys and stuff like that. And so it was not just books anymore, but they added music and toys that people could start buying. But in 1999, the January of 1999, Amazon bought shares in a pharmacy market and began to sell a wide range of pharmaceuticals. And so that was another thing that they added to their online business. And so we can just see over the years that they just added a few things here and there. And so quickly, a quick turnaround in July of that same year of 1999, they added 2 new sections that offered a wide variety of toys and consumer electronics. Though Amazon had $610 billion in sales and had a growing rate of 3,000% annually, in 1997 they actually lost $30 million, and they lost $1.5 million in 1998. shockingly, it took Amazon 14 years to make a profit. 14 years. But in those 14 years, they made the same amount as the last quarter of 2017, which kind of blows my mind, just to see how far they have come. In 2018, Amazon was a month behind Apple, having a market value of $1 trillion. To the date, in 2019, Amazon is worth $810 billion, becoming the most valuable company in the world. And so what happened was they hit $1 trillion, becoming only the second company in the world to do that. And then they have dropped underneath that again. So the mission and vision of Amazon kind of run closely together. So the CEO says for their mission, we strive to offer our customers the lowest possible prices, the best available selection, and the utmost convenience. And their vision runs right alongside of that and says our vision is to be the world's most consumer-centric company where customers can come to find anything they want to buy online. One of Amazon's biggest things is being consumer-minded. They want to be so focused on the consumer, and that the consumers are driving their focus. And so they not only set up their mission, but also their vision. So what they are focused on here and now, and then what they are what they are pursuing is always customer satisfaction, being customer centered. And so Amazon has to, because of its vastness of a company that it is, and all these different locations and everything like that, their strategic plans have to be incredible, an incredible amount of detail. And so strategic plans of expectations, they want to stay ahead of customers' continual increase of expectations. And so something that the CEO often talked about was how the customers are always loyal to us until something better comes out. And so he is driving the company to always stay above the consumer's expectations, and just to continue to feel that need of wanting more. Another expectation is setting the standards of expectations begins with selecting and hiring high standards people. And so their hiring process is actually very in-depth. They actually have what's called a bars team, where their thing is to set the bar for their employees who they hire. And so this is an outside group that comes in, that they are a part of the committee. They do not work for Amazon, but they were selected to be a part of the committee that helps be an outside perspective of determining whether or not these employees are going to be good hires or not. And so selecting this team has 4 elements of high standards: being teachable, being domain specific, being able to recognize what looks good in that domain, and being able to have realistic expectations on scope. And so basically that's the 4 main things that they look at to see whether or not if you would be a good fit for Amazon. And so that's the first thing they look for, because your staff is what's going to drive your company. And so the next, they move on to principles. So they have 4 guiding principles to Amazon, and it's customer obsession versus competitor focus. So they would rather be obsessed with customers and not focused on competitors, in the sense of they are looking to compete with people. They just know if they are so obsessed with their customers that they are going to far exceed their competitors. Passion for invention. They are always continuing to look to improve. And so the CEO, Jeff, said that if they go a week without a business meeting, then there's something wrong. He wants to always have at least once a week a time when they come down and just start imagining, throwing out inventions and ideas in creative team meetings and such. Another principle is commit to operational excellence, time management, timeliness of getting packages in and out, where things are being shipped, making sure things are organized and stuff like that, commitment to operational excellence. And that is something that actually goes into their performance reviews. And long-term thinking, as we will see in a minute. He is huge, as in Jeff, the CEO, is big on long-term thinking and goals and stuff like that. Continuing, marketing has its own strategic plans, and they have 5 marketing strategies. Know your customers, maximize your data, get obsessive with customer service, be innovative, create a comprehensive customer relationship management strategy. They also have a marketing planning framework, which is called RACE. And so it's for reach, act, convert, and engage. So reach is publishing and promoting content in a way that draws people to your content hub. And so what are you doing to reach consumers to come to your content hub? So how is Amazon grabbing customers to come to their website? Act is have a content hub that is relevant, inspirational, useful, and creates lead that makes your content worth finding. So this is like the why behind the what. Like, why do I want to go to your website? Why do I need to act? And what's going to be the pull to get me there? Convert. So capitalize on marketing by remarketing to ensure contextual relevance and drive on conversion. And so you want to keep converting to keep up with the times, basically. Engage. So have social media marketing, social proof, repeat sales, and referrals that make consumers thrilled. Again, that just goes back to being obsessed with their customer service. They want to have marketing and continue to promote sales that make their customers, in their words, thrilled, which is just a really cool perspective that they have on that. And lastly, there are strategic plans of communication. So the communication strategy: increase customer traffic to the website, create awareness of projects and services, promote repeated purchases, develop product and services, revenue opportunities, strengthen and broaden the Amazon.com brand name. And so basically anything that you need for communications, they're just saying, let's continue to improve it. We need to get people here. We need to make our products aware. We needed to develop our increments of product, service, and revenue opportunities. And we also need to strengthen our name, put more credibility behind it, and make that credibility more well known to more places. And so goals, like I said earlier, the CEO does not set short-term goals, but rather the continual everyday expectations of being customer obsessed. And so Jeff talked a lot about in interviews and articles and stuff like that, how he doesn't set short-term goals because he is a visionary and he's looking in the future. And so the short-term goals are really just the day-to-day operations. He comments on the true customer obsession. There are many ways to center a business. You can be a competitor focused, you can be product focused, you can be technologically focused, you can be business model focused, and there are many more. But in my view, obsessive customer focus is far more the most important. Even when they don't know it yet, customers want something better, and your desire to delight customers will drive you to invent on their behalf. And so that's what he expects of his day-to-day employees, is again to be that customer obsessiveness. He also is relentlessly focused on long-term goals. So he's a visionary. He's casting Amazon into that whole realm of we're going to be forward thinkers. And so this is what he says about that: to be As in, this is what he says, this is what his long-term goal is, to be Earth's biggest selection and to be Earth's most customer-centric company. Amazon's customers are worldwide and includes millions of consumers, sellers, content creators, developers, and enterprises. Each of these groups have different needs, and they are committed to always work to meet those needs by innovating new solutions to make these things easier, faster, better, and more cost-effective. And so ultimately, he just wants to be the best in his business. Performance reviews. So what are they? We already have the setup of Amazon and the history and what their goals are. And so what is performance reviews and appraisals? They are the process through which supervisors assess after the fact the job-related performance of their supervisees and allocate rewards to the supervisees based on that assessment. They are an essential part of the effort to address agency problems, promoting employees to act in the interest of the employee, and as such are a central practice to the field of management. So basically, performance reviews. You are taking how someone performs and you're reviewing it with them, and you are hoping this is the time that you address problems, that you encourage good behavior and instruct on weaknesses. For it should be in the interest of not only the employee but also the employer. So how is it going to increase your company? There are endless ways to methodize a performance review. However, many are ineffective. And so personally, I think that reviews that cause disunity, employee dissatisfaction, and a harsh working environment, to name a few, are ways to ineffectively execute performance reviews. Effective reviews will develop and promote growth in the employees, benefit both employee and company, provide a healthy and enjoyable work environment. And so with performance reviews, developing a company in whole and making it an environment that is enjoyable to be in, where your employees have each other back, where you are all driven towards the same mission, vision, and goals. When your performance reviews enhances that and promotes that, you know you're on the right track. And so the current performance review system of Amazon. So this is when things get a little sticky for them. It seems like everything else that they're doing is great. However, the review system. So they use what is called rank or yank, which means that throughout their review timeline, so their annual timeline of when they do their performance reviews, they are receiving feedback from co-workers. They're getting feedback from department and team managers that basically will rank different employees. And if you do not meet the standard, or if you do not make the cutoff of a certain rank, you get fired. And so this created a very hostile environment to where people were ragging on one another. They were nitpicking their work. They were giving them poor reviews in order that they could be promoted, that they could keep their job. It's kind of like if you're trying out for a basketball team, and yes, you're all on the same team, but you're working for the same spot. So you're going to do whatever you can to outwork, outbeat, out-hustle the other player who's trying to go for that spot. And it's the same thing here. It causes more of a competitive, more disunified work environment. It was called to have a Hunger Games environment. People were very dissatisfied. They were noticing false information being taken back to managers, false peer reviews. And at one point, Amazon, well, they still do have this method of pay to quit. So basically, they will pay you to quit. And what this means and why they do it is basically your first year working, they will offer you $1,000 at the beginning of your review to quit. If you don't take it, they will offer you $2,000 next year, $3,000, $4,000, and it'll cap at $5,000. And basically do that to wean people out. So would you rather take the payout or not? However, it is shown not to have the greatest effects because it puts people in this hard position, depending on where they're at in life, what's going on at home, all these things. And it's kind of creating an environment to where they feel like they are trying to be paid to leave, like they are not welcome there, and like they have to earn their spot. And so the pay to quit is not well received amongst the employees. They also have this thing that goes right into the rank or yank in the kind of environment is the Q&A connections is what they call it. Feedback tool implemented by HR in the people science team. So basically every morning or every day that an employee gets online, they get this pop-up survey that they have to give feedback, satisfaction stuff. They get asked all these different questions like good things, bad things that are happening, things that they would like to see happening, improvements, all these things. It's said to be confidential, but a lot of employees have reason to believe that it's not. And so therefore it's creating distrust, and people usually don't give adequate and accurate information because of the fear that it's not 100% confidential. And so this is when they would give feedback about other coworkers and stuff like that. They also use the 360 approach, which is kind of that you gain information from every single different source, peer reviews, different managers, yourself, stuff like that. Which in a moment we'll talk about that I don't necessarily agree with that. And staff is analyzed by, again, the people science team. So this is also part of HR. The people science team, that's exactly what they do. Their job is to study the people, their own people, to notice the trends, what needs to be done for a better working environment and stuff like that. So the company's incentives, and these are kind of the studies that I was noticing that was going on. So because the work environment isn't ideal, employees are not happy with it, and a lot of these reviews started coming to surface and causing a lot of havoc in the news these last few years, that a new pay increase, minimum wage increases happen. So Amazon, which has faced political and economic pressure to raise pay for thousands of employees, is boosting its minimum wage for all U.S. workers to $15 per hour starting next month, which was October of 2018. The wage hike will benefit more than 350,000 workers, which include full-time, part-time, temporary, seasonal positions. We intend to advocate for a minimum wage increase that will have a profound impact on the lives of tens of millions of people and families across the world, or across the country. And so basically I see this as them trying to make up for what they are lacking and to keep people on board. They have on-site medical clinics. So benefits of the clinic include reduced healthcare cost, and for its employees, improve employee health, increase employee engagement, retention, and satisfaction, the company reports. So basically they are offering him pay raises to stay, and they are also saying here's medical treatment. So they are trying to do everything they can to keep people engaged, though they aren't happy working there. Amazon did not ultimately respond to the request from Fortune to commit and told the Times, as a part of our annual planning process, we are making headcount adjustments across the company, small reductions in a couple of places and aggressive hiring many others. According to Times, the Amazon layoffs are a result of the quick growth of late that saw it at the end of too much staff in some units. The paper also said managers are under pressure to squeeze out lower caliber employees. So from higher up, the management team is saying, get rid of these employees that aren't worth much. So again, that rank and yank system. Which is funny to me, because we see one side where they're saying it benefits the company to rank our employees, because then we can see who's not performing well, we can get rid of them and hire people in who will do well, even though there will always be a low person, even if they are a great employee. And a lot has to go in with supervisor and supervisee relationships, and it gets messy doing the rank or yank. And then on the other hand, you have that side that says this is messy. So you have these two different opposing opinions here of like, this is good, this is bad, and so that's something that has to be differentiated, that has to be thought through in order to make an effective performance review. So another study showed that PA's performance appraisals have a positive and significant impact on the job satisfaction of employees. The relationship is particularly strong when appraisals are linked to monetary outcomes. The result demonstrates that PAs are linked to monetary outcomes are a powerful HR management tool that is appreciated by employees. Hence, it seems to be very important that appraisals are linked to tangible outcomes such as a bonus, a promotion, or pay raise. And so again, it's that whole, what can I do to keep them here? And so that poses the question in my head, are the performance reviews actually accurate, or are you just going to offer them something to keep them there? So here's my suggestions. And if I were to say, this is what I think Amazon needs to do in order to have a more effective performance review and a higher satisfaction level amongst their employees, I would say remove the peer review feedback, which would kind of go in hand with the remove the hostility of the rank or yank method. Because with these two things, you are having employees that are going against one another. They are going head and head, and there is so much history that goes on between people of they may not like each other, simply. They may not get along, their personalities could clash, and so that could a preference of a person could determine how their performance is ranked, which I don't think is very beneficial to the company, because they could be providing a lot of positive outcomes to the company, but just because one person or whatever doesn't like them, they get a negative review. And that just goes furthermore with the rank or yank method, that people are going to try to trample over one another to keep their job. And so the peer reviews is there so that people can have a better 360 approach to how the employees work. Well, to fix this problem, I propose that managers become more engaged with their employees in order to gain an accurate and adequate information for an employee's performance review. If managers are more involved, they see more of their everyday work ethic, their everyday work responsibilities being carried out, them themselves will have the enough information to successfully and accurately give an employee their performance review. Next, goals are really important. So goal of performance be for the growth and development of the individual and company. So if performance reviews are just solely for the fact of who do we need to keep, who do we need to get rid of, you're not benefiting anybody. They need to be for growth. They need to be handled correctly, like have clear goals and expectations that are mutually agreed upon. So the goal should be to develop leaders, to develop your company, to create local assets that will improve your company, not just get rid of people because they're struggling. This is when you have, like, you praise their strength and offer encouragement and helpful suggestions for weaknesses. And so you encourage them where they're at. Like, these are the great things I see in you. And these are some things that I think can be improved upon. And so here are some resources and ways that you can improve. And so one way to have an adequate performance review, however, is to have these clear goals and expectations that are mutually agreed upon. So if an employee doesn't know where they're getting ranked on, how can they know, how can they measure up with how they're doing? They can't. They need to know what is expected of them, the goals that are set before them so they can achieve them, and ultimately what is expected of them as an employee. That removes a lot of conflict, a lot of confusion, and a lot of being blindsided by an employee. If they're like, you didn't meet expectations, you're like, well, I didn't know them. That whole aspect. Discuss performance apart from a numerical rating scale. I think there's a lot of flaws that come from numerical rating scales. With that, I mean, it's not an adequate tool to measure an employee's success or not success. Someone could be a 5 in one area, and another one could be determined a 5, but it just looks different. Every employee is different. And so those aren't just who determines what a 5 is. Who determines, like, the best ranking? Who determines that? Is that just a supervisor's interpretation or what? And so the lines there are just too vague. And so this kind of goes back to what is the goal of this? Are we praising strengths and offering encouragements? And so if that's the case, you can be rating them on the level of meeting goals. Like, practically, did you meet this goal? These are the strengths I see. These are the weaknesses I see. Rate performances like that, in that manner, instead of trying to pass people off on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 checklist. Also, provide employees with opportunity and space to be a part of the conversation, able to give their feedback and input. It does not need to be a one-way conversation. And so if employees at Amazon feel as if they have room to speak into their reviews and how they're doing and things like that, then they will feel heard. They will feel like they are important. They will feel like their voice matters, and that ultimately raises employee satisfaction. Do not focus so much on the success of the company that you overlook the employees. This is said to have happened with Amazon a lot, is they focus so much on the company that they're just like, you don't have any part in this. You aren't providing enough. You aren't credible enough. You aren't helping us grow in ways that we would like you to, or to the standard of this, and so you're gone. They have been focusing so much as the company's success and not at developing leaders. And then ultimately, supervisors, managers need to be a servant leader that promotes the growth of your employees. So they need to be willing to Take a bottom-up approach. Get underneath your team to serve them, to lead them in that manner. And I believe all of these things that come together, and if employees truly feel cared about, then they will want to work harder. They will want to improve if they feel like you're on your team. And so that is the biggest thing I believe that Amazon can do. Those few things, what Amazon can do to increase their performance reviews and ultimately have higher employee satisfaction.